You're listening to the 10-minute podcast challenge that will prove every place is the same. Welcome your host, the irreverent, the cosmopolitan, the wicked, Daniela Vlaskalic.
Hello, and welcome to Every Place Is The Same. I am thrilled to welcome my guest, Maria Ricossa. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Daniela.
Maria, you grew up near Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
Spent some time there. Mm-hmm. Tell me about Detroit.
Detroit. Well, I'll tell you about Detroit in the 60s when I grew up, because it was at the time of the race riots. And I would go downtown and I would go to the big department store with my mother, and then I would go to the Wurlitzer building where I had my piano lesson. And it was just this big, wonderful city with big, tall buildings, lots of people on the streets. And I came from a small town. So there was just and a department store was a big deal. And there was lots of cool little things springing up. And then one day my mother said there's no more piano lessons because Detroit City burned down. And that was basically 1964, 65, when there was the 12th Street riots and big fires and race riots. Civil rights movement was moving north. And that was the end of Detroit.
Now, would you say that Detroit is having a resurgence?
Oh, yes.
Did you know that the Lonely Planet has just rated Detroit as the second best city in the world to visit for 2018?
I didn't know that. I did not know that. I did go there last year.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it really is. It's blowing up, I think, because it's a great place for young people to go, start their businesses. The real estate is still pretty low. I mean, really low. Clubs, cool restaurants, culture, art. The hipsters have moved in, and they're Brooklynizing Detroit.
Tell me about Budapest. Budapest. Great.
While I was there, I called it Budapest, but it's Budapest. Well, there are two parts. There's the Buda side, and there's the Pest side. And those two, Budapest, combine. On the Buda side is older, more city, older buildings. On the Pest side, more open spaces.
Would you say that Buda is the best?
No, I'm not going to say that. I liked both sides. I liked Buda because there were more people and I was engaging with people on the street. And I liked the Pest side because there seemed to be more open spaces. So it was both.
What was the city like?
The city was a mixture of very old buildings that were being restored from the ground up to about above your head. And then you'd look up and there were the old buildings that have bullet holes in them. There's the old people who still have the shock of the horrors of the war on their face. There's the young people who don't have that memory. So it's a great time where the young people are moving in. Again, new restaurants, clubs.
Would you say that Detroit is going through a renaissance and also Budapest is going through a renaissance?
Yes.
Now, there's different types of architecture that you talked about in Budapest.
Yes.
Name some.
Different types. You'd look down a block and it would just be a whole series of buildings connected. There was no separation. There wasn't building. There was just one long building that morphed colors, that morphed slight architectural differences.
And if you look down the street in downtown Detroit?
Well, you'd see some bombed out buildings, and then you'd see some brand new buildings.
So you would see different types of architecture as well?
Yes.
Gothic churches.
Yeah, I don't remember any in Detroit.
Detroit has St. Anne de Detroit, Sweetheart of Mary Church, Historic Trinity Lutheran Church.
Oh,
yes.
Well, that's interesting.
There are a number of Gothic churches in Detroit, and there are a number of Gothic churches in Budapest.
Wow.
Matthias Church, Our Lady of Buda, and Church of St. Elizabeth of the House of Arpad.
I've been to those. I spent about an hour in a Gothic church in Budapest and had
Would you spend an hour in a Gothic church in Detroit?
I would. I would do that right now.
Have you ever driven a Ford?
Have I ever driven a Ford? Yes. I had a distant relative who worked at the Ford plant in Detroit.
Motor City.
Oh, Supremes. The Supremes, the Motor City. It's a great, that's what I grew up with.
Aretha Franklin.
Diana Ross.
Madonna.
Madonna
is from Detroit.
Oh, that's right, she is. Yeah.
Music in Budapest.
Music, well, there are such thing called a ruin bar. They're basically old, burned out buildings that have been restored to be kind of cool nighttime bars that people go to. And there are several of these ruin bars, and I believe they're called that because they have been created out of the ruins, out of the bombed out buildings, out of the distress of the war.
Have you ever been ruined in a bar in Detroit?
No, I haven't.
South Detroit?
South Detroit? What? I don't know anything about South Detroit.
That's because it doesn't exist.
Oh.
Journey, that was a myth. Theaters.
Yes.
Did you know that Detroit is the second largest theater district after New York City?
No, I did not know that. Really?
Absolutely.
Theater as in live theater?
Yes.
Because when I was growing up, there were lots of smaller little theaters, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a mecca of live theater.
Well, it is now.
That's impressive.
Theaters in Budapest.
A lot of theaters in Budapest. A lot of big stars doing big comedies in Budapest.
40 theaters to be exact.
40? Wow.
Galleries.
Tons of galleries.
Over 100 museums.
I've been to about 99 of them when I was there.
Detroit Institute of Art.
Fabulous. I know the mummy part.
Over 100 galleries in the Detroit Institute for Art.
Wow, that's impressive, Daniela.
Detroit is impressive. Budapest?
Very impressive.
Do you like the Rubik's Cube?
I have one in my bathroom.
Do you play it in the bath?
I do.
So if you were in Budapest, you could have a Rubik's Cube in the public bath.
I could do that.
Or in Detroit.
Or in Detroit.
The Rubik's Cube was invented in Budapest.
I didn't know that either.
Speaking of cubism,
yes,
Picasso.
I love Picasso.
Where can you find Picasso in Detroit?
Well, you can certainly find him at the Detroit Institute of Arts.
So if you were feeling in a cubist sort of mood,
I could go to the Art Institute.
Do you find Detroit to be a bright city?
It's gotten brighter. It used to be very dark, but now it's very, very bright.
Largest U.S. city with all LED lighting.
Really? I cannot believe. Really? Well, they just turn it all on.
That's right, they turn it on. The Krypton electric light bulb
was invented in Budapest.
A modern, most economic light bulb of the age in 1937.
Wow, they're very forward-thinking in Budapest. And I'm curious why. Why would that be? Because of the darkness in the buildings, because there's not a lot of windows?
Perhaps Harry Houdini has something to do with that.
Why?
He liked to disappear in dark places. And he was from Budapest. Maria, I want to thank you for being my guest today. If you want to explore a city that is experiencing a renaissance, if you're a fan of the cube, Rubik's, or cubism, and if you just want to see the light, go to Detroit or go to Budapest, because my guest, Maria Ricossa, has helped prove that every place is the same.
I'm astonished, but I am a convert.
You just listened to Every Place Is The Same, hosted by Daniela Vlaskalic and produced by Drumcast Productions. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and follow us on Twitter at Everyplace Is The Same. Until the next time, enjoy your travels.